Welcome everyone. So the core discussion is going to be on STEM and the future of job opportunities. Let me just set a context, before we just proceed to questions. So STEM refers to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. It was first coined by US in 2001, and of course since then it's become a very hardcore evaluating criteria by, let's say, World Economic Forum as well as World Bank since then. India just adopted new education policy in 2020, which just sort of enrolled in 2023, 2024. And a lot of STEM-specific policies have sort of enrolled right now in India. So we had this Atal Innovation Mission, which just led to transitioning of or setting up of Atal Tinkering Labs at the primary as well as the secondary school levels. Uh, I believe we are setting up a very right foundation all in all. Uh, Led by the statistics that India just filed about 247 patents each day for the last year. We have just improved our ranking from 83rd position to 40th position in the Global Innovation Index. So, and we cannot not talk about internet or IT spending while we are sitting at the IAMI conference. So India's IT spending expected to be about $125 billion only for 2024, and the internet economy size for India is expected to reach about $1 trillion by about 2030. So that's the context. Long story short, STEM is the future, let's say, for the next 5 years. That's what we're going to figure out. Now, let me just set the tone by, just addressing our broader context, which is how are trends looking right now for employment, somebody who's just graduated, let's say from a STEM background, and Gaurav, let's say we'll come back to you for a non-STEM background. Alekhya, let's start with you.
So you mean within employment, right? So, cool. I think one thing we have observed is the interest in opportunities and in general across UG and PG students is definitely the highest within STEM as an audience. Like we have a 9 million base right now in Unstop, culled over the last 6-7 years. 80% of that actually belongs to STEM, right? And to your question in terms of employment, I think there are opportunities are plenty. Like recently we conducted a survey internally with HRs of the top 500 companies who have engaged with us over the last couple of years. 84% of them said that they are hiring, definitely hiring, and the number for tech actually was slightly higher. It was 86%. So I think no matter the broader sentiment out there, there is enough positivity out there, there are opportunities out there. And I think a lot of things that we can do. I mean, one favorite stat of mine in today's STEM world is the female participation in the STEM population is just 14% in India. That's like a horrible number, right? That I think tells us what is the task that is cut out for us in terms of creating more opportunities and making them more employable within the STEM universe. And I think what we see, there is a lot of efforts being put in by the students to try and upskill a little bit more. And equally, when we talk to, on one side, the employers and on the other side, the student community, we see there's a lot of gap in terms of their understanding of employability, what the students think and what the employers actually seek. So I think that gap is something where we can do a lot more, and wherein I think there could be a lot of partnerships. And the other aspect, I think what we can probably deliberate on as a group is how companies like us can come together and work with the government hand in hand. And I think this is a problem which we can't solve even by combining hands within us. So yeah, I think broadly I thought I'll just throw open this 3-4
Perfect,
pointers.
perfect. Arun, is it only tech stack gap that we are observing, or is it something beyond that as well?
uh, Tech is one of the primary thing. I mean, but if you look at other way, like India is pretty good at tech. So if you go to any bar or any cricket ground, you will find at least if you dash somebody, there will be an engineer, okay, who will be in tech. So in terms of graduates, tech is not a big challenge. But in terms of skills, yes, that is a big challenge. And that too, after COVID, there was a trend which was kind of different. Like, so if you, I mean, we all are Y2K kids, so you might have seen, right? So at the time, if you tell Java without any spelling mistake, you will be gone to US. Okay? The same thing happened during COVID as well. So no matter whether you know it or not, the company started hiring during COVID. Now it has changed. That is where the difference is. The skill is now becoming key thing, and people started looking at it. So skills is one of the primary thing. And apart from the skill, the COVID years has given a lot of little bad attitude to the Gen Z or the next grade. So those are the two things. First is solvable. Second one is like they have to get beating and then they'll learn it.
And Gaurav, since you come from a sort of a non-STEM background, what's your outlook, let's say, from job-specific perspective?
Yeah, so I think from non-STEM point of view, if you look at a lot of new roles which has evolved in this country, like as basic as digital marketers, then content creators, a lot of corporate lawyers, IP lawyers, investment bankers, supply chain, logistics, category managers, key account managers. So we feel that because we're a platform for careers beyond engineering and medicine, we feel there's a lot of students who are now opting for these careers. And the reason they are opting for these careers is because they can see people around them who are successful in these careers. So I feel I am of an opinion that non-STEM is growing faster than STEM, and it will continue to be like that.
I think I'll just catch up on that point just going forward. Now, since Alekhya just mentioned about diversity or, penetration is just one key aspect, let's focus on incorporating inclusion of the STEM education. So let's say you're sitting here in BKC in Mumbai, it's evident, pretty clear for everybody that STEM, let's say, is the future. We're sitting here in a India Digital Summit, of course it's very clear to us. But let's travel 300 kilometers down towards north of Maharashtra, and a story is going to be very different altogether. Sanjay, how do you focus or how do you promote not only STEM education, but let's say the entire mindset of education, let's say from tier 1 to tier 3 cities?
Thank you so much. I quickly, before answer the question, my name is Dr. Sanjay Bharadwaj. I represent Mazars Advisory. We work in multiple sectors. One of the sector is education. So before answer your question, I just quickly set up the context how the ecosystem of education works, primarily in the government side. So the entire ecosystem is focusing on the learner. So the initial days or maybe 15 years before, the government was targeting to bring this learner on the school. The accessibility was a big challenge. But now accessibility is more or less sorted out. The student is coming to the schools or training centers. The big issue now is government is tackling the engagement of this learner is a big challenge. So every driver of the growth is focusing on this learner. So how he can make him more engaging. Now the second pillar of the growth is the educator. So the one who is actually accountable to engage him, the educator. The first priority is to educate the educator. So it is something we need to think about in terms of we're talking about employability. We need to focus on the basics first. The first pillars of the growth is educating the educator. The second pillar of the growth for the India growth story, and STEM is one of them, right? The second pillar of the growth is the institutional and infrastructure. So when I say institutions, there could be two types of institutions. One is targeting on the education. The second is skill development. And there's a very fine, thin line difference between education and skilling. Education creates a good human being, while skilling creates a good employees or entrepreneurs. So we need to understand, we can't really discard the education at all, and we not only keep, most of the time we keep talking about skill. The third pillar is the industry, where industry comes in and educate these educators, help them to redesign their curriculum, help them to take students from the campus to their industry premises to give them the exposure. The fourth pillar is the research. If I am doing something good in Maharashtra, the people of the other states should also learn it. And that can only be done when a professor or a educator will document, write a thought papers. Now the thought paper is entirely being written by either the consulting organization like us. Hardly professors write thought leadership papers in terms of, cascading these best practices to other states. And sixth pillar is entire the assessment, how we assess the student. If we stitch this entire ecosystem, STEM automatically will be byproduct of this. So ideally, my message through this form is that how we can stitch these, these driver of the growth of the Indian economy, so that the learner can actually become more, feel more engaged while he's taking, his or her education, and the learner can, become more productive while he go on the show floor for so to answer your question, we, to promote the inclusivity, to promote the diversity, there are experiment happening in entire India. So for instance, Hero Motocorp is a industry which is now taking female on the show floor, and this was the stigma that female can't work on the show floor. Anand Group is again a automotive group. They have actually started taking females on the show floor, and such kind of experiment, when documented and will be, circulated to the entire country, the people will adopt them, and diversity, inclusion will automatically will. So we need to put our old transactions into a larger goal of the country. Yeah. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
So I think we'll take home the 4 pillars that you just end up saying. Arun, I would just divert the same question to you, which is how do you promote? I think your entire basis of your company is, promoting tech in a vernacular sort of language. How have you been doing, or let's say, what are the sort of challenges that you observe in promoting STEM in tier 3 cities?
Okay. Doctor said a very valid point. What he said was like earlier it was accessibility, now it was engagement. So we started focusing on the engagement. So the engagement can be on 2 factors. Okay. One factor is how you present and how crisp you present. Those are 2 factors of engagement. Unfortunately, the current system rewards for wrong values. For example, my brother was working as a director for NIT. When I say director, capturing video, not the director. So he was capturing the NIFT, I think, NIFT courses. So one of the target for which the professors would get paid is how many hours of content. So whether you like it or not, they'll talk for 2 hours. And my brother will switch on the camera and he'll go on sleep. That's what he said. Okay. This is where the challenge comes in. The same thing, for example, if you ask me, I started getting into the, let's take the other side, Instagram. So in Instagram, how crisp, if your video should not go more than 12 seconds. People will swipe. Whatever content you have to give it in the 12 seconds. So their rewarding points became the crisp and short. So what factor you reward for is the fundamental problem, at least right now we have to solve. Example, I'll put that in a real world context. So we gave our courses, Python course, which is of 3 hours course, to Swayam Plus. Yesterday we launched it, okay, in Delhi. One of the questions is, this cannot be taken for credits because it is only 3 hours. It has to be 40 hours.
Oh.
If it is not 40 hours, we will not give it. So then what I would do, I pack everything, and I have packed 3-4 package and give us a package and give it to us. So I have to find a workaround to push the system which is there. So this has to be changed. This is the first point in terms of content delivery. Okay. The second point is content has to be engaging. So that is where all the content creators should come in and do things. The content has to be contextualized. I'll take a technical example. For example, in programming, we call something called class, objects, and other things. So if you go to any book, they'll say that vehicles, and then car, that's the example. So in Guvi, what we gave as example is like, your idli pan is a class, and your idli is the object. That's it. It stays for the student forever. So we don't need, so these kind of contextualization only can be done by the creators in India for India. So these are 2 parts which has to be there, and this is what we are doing it. And that is where we are able to impact so much people in terms of content. For example, you have 2.28 lakh students, and with the engagement rate, at least we have seen the engagement rate max of 90 and min of 60.
Oh.
So typically, average online self-paced engagement is 10 to 12%. Right. So that is because we purposefully made it as short courses and made it as so engaging. Unfortunately, we couldn't get into the system because of the other constraint.
Right. Makes sense. So focus is primarily on quantity and not really the crispness or the quality impact of it. Alekhya, again, I would just redirect the same question to you, which is, how do you promote diversity, or how do you promote, let's say, STEM into tier 3? And let's say even in tier 1 colleges, in cities, you'll find a lot of colleges or universities which are, let's say, not so well known. And how are things looking from their standpoint as well?
So I think I'll answer this with examples because that's the sort of knowledge I prefer.
Right.
Yeah. So I think two, three opportunities of big brands who worked with us. Walmart comes to my mind. Walmart came to us in 2022, 2 years back, and they were wanting to hire just 50 coders who were females as part of a global mandate. They went to IITs and some NITs, and they struggled, couldn't even fill like 40 positions, right? So and we wanted them to take a punt with us, to just launch a online hackathon with us, right? Walmart Code Hers. In 3 weeks, they got 50,000 registrations, right? They ended up hiring, and it became a global case study with Walmart, 250 female coders, all 50,000, by the way, female techies, right? So, and then since then, this time they just completed 1 week back the 3rd season of Code Hers. This time that number has gone up to 96,000, right? And then they have again said that, already they have said that they'll roll out at least 300 PPIs. To your point, now coming back to a question, why is something like this relevant? Initially, a company like that, a global major, was thinking only IITs or NITs in a country like this. Because of this, they got a college in Guntur, for example. 3 female techies, they got jobs into Walmart because of that, right? So they wouldn't have ever imagined something like that, right? And female techies, I repeat the point, right? It's not just techies. And equally, I think, for example, you're from NMIMS, right? So if I talk to your students, I'm 100% sure all 100% of your students know about Unstop.
Absolutely.
But to take your example, north of Maharashtra, how many of them are actually doing it? So I think I am a practicing mentor on the platform, and when I talk to them, I realize their aspirations, those same STEM candidates are equal as much as an IIM or an IIT or an NMIMS student, right? Okay. So I think because of those platforms, those opportunities, it's very important for them to make use of those features, like the mentorship on Unstop, for example. And there are many other platforms like the ones that we have here. But I think one key number, at the sake of repeating like a broken record, I'm saying 14%. Right? Like, look at us, 5 of us males talking about STEM. I think typifies the point as a demonstration that what is the key problem in STEM, right? So we can do a lot more. I think that's where we can focus a lot more as a community.
Right, perfect. And Gaurav, is the scenario for non-STEM as bad as STEM in India?
Yeah, so I think in our case, typically, if you see, like when we go to a tier 2, tier 3 town, and there are a lot of female students who earlier didn't had an option to choose any other career other than becoming a doctor or an engineer. Doctor is tough because it's very costly program and it's a long program. And engineering beyond tech, they don't know what to do. So when we came up with these programs for which we have started this ecosystem around law, management, arts, humanities, design, there was a natural inclination which existed, but it was kind of not coming out because they felt that the careers don't exist. So we kind of told people that, boss, there are a lot of new careers which are now existing, and then students have started coming in. In fact, we initially thought that careers beyond engineering and medicine would be more of a tier 1 story from a parent who is very rich and from a kid who is very smart. He knows that as soon as he tells his parent that I want to do an engineering, the father will spend enough money to send him to Kota. And then he needs to clear that exam. So we thought these smarter kids will say that I don't want to become a doctor or an engineer, I want to do something else. But we realized beyond this, lot of tier 2, tier 3 students have started opting these programs. In terms of engagement, we have done something very different. We have used an AI and we have built a product called Bhaiya, bh.ai.ya. It's our own algorithm which we have written. Now we realize that beyond classroom, which is for beyond academics, there are a lot of non-academic doubts which comes in a student's mind.
Okay.
So it's a cycle of motivation and demotivation, whether I'll be able to do it, whether I'm on right track, I've missed certain things, what should I do? So it's more like a secondary teacher approach, but the secondary teacher is an AI-based teacher.
Okay.
And teacher slash mentor who is now helping student to kind of stay committed to the program, keep coming back, also solving academic doubts now. We have made some changes around that. So I think if you are able to understand the need right, then you should be able to by default drive lot of engagement. So this happened with us and it's working.
Perfect. So I'll just carry forward your same point. And this is a trend that will follow, or that we see at least with a lot of kids in India, which is we have a lot of bias towards, let's say, specific subjects. Let's say we've had few bad mathematics paper and we just ended up hating the entire subject. A lot of engineers, let's say in this room, would agree with me that we just end up hating chemistry altogether because of this one branch of chemistry called organic chemistry. So a lot of biases are something that we end up building because we have a bad exam or a bad a professor. How do we incorporate STEM, let's say at the very primary education or high school sort of era, so that this kind of bias is sort of removed?
So much. So I think we were advocating a concept called central credit passbook.
Okay.
From last, it has been 4 or 5 years, and I conceived this concept back in 2017. And wherever we are working, we try to, motivate the government authorities to implement. So central credit passbook actually is your like your bank passbook. And if I as a person, Arun was talking about, I as a person have done some kind of course which has 2 credit, whether it has, small course, maybe 1 credit. And then I go to the other platform, do one more course which has 3 credit. And these credit can be accumulated. And when I have, for instance, to award a degree, it is required to have a 40 credit. Once I accumulate a 40 credit, I go to any central or state university and claim that please give me a graduate degree. Right. This is the concept we are advocating as a consulting firm also we are advocating, and we are actually, though it will take some time, and some forthcoming leaders, largely the IS officers, are very, very proactive, and they are taking initiative at state level. Right. So until unless we won't, cut it down at subject level or credit level and accumulate them into a part of a program, whether it is a certificate program, diploma, advanced diploma or degree, okay, it would be very difficult to, and there's a policy decision. It can't, happen right at institution level. Right. It is something that come from the top, okay, to bottom.
Is it similar as the academic bank of credit, the ABC?
Correct. It's correct.
Okay.
We can't think skill as separate from academics, right? So it is education and skill both are, going, on the, it's like, 2 lines going together. Right. So, but somewhere both are complementing each other. Alone skill won't help, and alone education is not even helping. Yeah. So integration of skill education and having technology in place is something we need to think about.
Yeah. Arun?
So in this, I have a slide. One is ABC. I actually appreciate that ABC which has been rolled out. I don't know when it is going to come as a practical thing. Probably in another 2 years, let's assume it will come in. So another important changes which the colleges, when I say colleges, the premier colleges should do is make their entry easy, not like JEE kind of thing, but make the exit harder. So that is a simple change which will bring in a lot of GER and more inclusion into the system. Okay, that is one small change which every college needs to do, or the university needs to do. Another thing where the companies can come in is like, right now every company is doing CSR, and education is part of the CSR. Okay, ideally education should be ESR, separate ESR budget which has to be there, because that will transform the entire country. For example, right now, if you look at me, so if you remove the education from me, I'm nothing, I'm a normal guy. Right. Okay. So it has transformed my family, and when it transformed, it has impacted the entire families around me, my relatives as well.
Right.
The same way, the education can impact and take the country to the next level. For that, you have to make the GR higher, which is the entry higher,
Right.
okay, exit level, and the companies has to provide it. For example, just entry is one point. Now somebody has to pay the scholarships and other things. That is where uh, CSR should focus more towards education.
Right.
So those are two things which has to be there.
Perfect. Gaurav?
So I think we have a slightly different thought process around this. And we've been advocating this, going to a lot of schools and speaking to students around this, that you should decouple your career from this thought process of the subject which you like.
Okay.
So giving an example that a student will come to you say that I am very good in drawing. Should I choose design as a career for me? Now, drawing and design, it might sound similar, but they are very different things, right? So you see something and you draw versus you see a white wall and you need to design something. These are two different things, right? So we give such examples. Now, you like maths versus you like problem solving. They're two different things. So I think what we have been doing is when we are going to a lot of schools and when we are meeting students, the first thing which we're trying to decouple, we are just telling them that don't think that if you like certain subject, you have to make a career around that. Let's figure out, we run a program called Udan. Inside Top Rankers, it's a career discovery wing. And the thesis of that is that every psychometric test which has been created for career discovery, we internally say it's a fraud. Fraud, not on a true sense, but we say that through a psychometric test, you cannot determine a career.
Right.
But every company across the world is kind of doing it this way. We said, we cannot help you to determine what's the right career for you, but we'll be able to help you understand what are the right skills you possess right now, and through which, what is the first step for you? Should you do a BBA? You should do a BA, BSc, BCom. A lot of these entry, because this is the first step for a student.
Right.
So I think we are in a mode where we are trying to crush couple of old beliefs, and hopefully we should be able to do it.
Perfect.
I think again, I think I'm on the other end of the value chain, right? Well, because we speak to the companies more.
Right.
And one simple lesson that we have, basis trends that we have spotted over the last 3-4 years, the best form of learning, and I'm sorry, my edtech brothers, if what I want to say next you don't like, is actually learning by doing. Right, so and it's actually true that the students still, and again referring to an internal survey we have done with 30,000 students just last couple of months back, they still feel that just coursework is enough. Whereas companies are 100% going to prefer, and this is across tech, non-tech, all domains, those candidates who have done significant amount of internships and projects, right? And I have had that hands-on learning, and this is true for probably way more for STEM than non-STEM. That's what I would like to probably say, and that's the learning from our end of the spectrum.
Okay, great. So, I was just having a chat with few of my students that, I'm speaking at this conference. It's on STEM. What are your views? And their entire outlook is, we don't want to be back-end developers, after studying STEM. So is STEM only about tech stack, or is STEM, let's say, something beyond and can help you become, entrepreneurs or bring up that sort of entrepreneurial mindset? Alekhya?
100% it's way more. And it's funny thing is, when you get out of your campus and you join the company, the first 2 months, 3 months, once they actually do the grunt work, they realize, oh my God, there are so many more softer skills that I need to have, right? And that's when the sort of penny drops. And that's when they run back and speak to seniors, mentors, etc. And those bits keep coming in. So I think, in short, the best STEM students or whatever professionals will be the ones who will future-proof on skills that matter, and I think there is a good balance of softer and hard skills. I'll tell you something. There are creators today. From the creator ecosystem, they also need to have equal amount of STEM/analytical skills. Right. Good luck to a creator who only knows video editing today. Right. It was good till about a year back. Now, I'm sorry, no, that's not going to happen, right? So, and equally for STEM folks, they need to be well-rounded professionals from the beginning. Gone are the days when you do a drill for 2, 3, 4 years of functional work and then you want to become a manager either by coming back and doing an MBA or something else. So those bits are gone. So I think absolutely the need to be a well-rounded profession from day one, that's the need.
Perfect.
So I feel absolutely. So I think STEM is much beyond that. I think our issue is with when people think about STEM and they think about engineering. That's an issue. Like, otherwise, if you see, it's all about creative thinking, problem solving. I think if you're able to inculcate those capabilities, and if you like maths as an ecosystem alone, right? So I think that's something which, as soon as this understanding will build up across the ecosystem, that there's much more which you can do beyond just trying to do and go for engineering. So STEM is required. I think there's no second thought about it. But I think the way people should think about it has to slightly change. And I think that's it. That's from my side. Okay.
Yeah. STEM is very much needed. For example, STEM gives you the basic confidence in whatever you do it. So after that, you can become whatever, like for example, we here, it was a surprising thing. I have Kailash. So he studied in Guvi, now he started his own startup. So I was little happy and surprised to see him. So like this, STEM can do a lot of wonders.
I think absolutely everybody is advocating, and I am not, against any concept. But yes, having said all this, the enabling factor for STEM is, the industry integration, putting industry integration together around the curriculum. So we are too optimistic in terms of, future. So ideally, what we feel is academia also go to industry, industry also support academia. Until unless both won't work hand in gloves, the problem will remain always the same. Right. So now industry start also thinking, professor, considering he is a doctor, he don't want to go soft floor to, make him or her, so flexible that so floor पे तो diploma holder होते हैं और मैं doctor हूँ, मैं PhD, I won't go there. So अगर if we are able to solve this problem, we are able to integrate industry and academia with the technology integration, I believe STEM would become the problem would automatically minimize. So we need to work on basics as well in terms of solving a large country problem.
Brilliant.
That's it. Thank you.
I feel there's one more problem in India that a lot of the programs or the courses that are built up, it's very starkly divided between, let's say, STEM and non-STEM. Let's say you are only into arts, or only into humanities, or only into engineering, and there's no interconnection or no integration of any of these courses wherein, let's say, somebody who studies for 3 years or 4-year program and ends up getting the best of both worlds. So I think that's another area that, as an academic institution, or let's say as policy advocates, something that we can focus upon. Okay, now all these discussions were primarily on the demand side from the learner's perspective. There's a huge skill gap, let's say, on the educators as well, right? I mean, you just mentioned that we need that crisp content, we need to educate the educators. What sort of supply gap or what sort of education are we looking for from a academician's perspective that is not sort of met or not sort of acknowledged right now by the industry?
So the look at the traditional education system. The onboarding process from a policy level, I think that needs to be think through. How we onboard a professor or a teacher is something we need to think about. Traditional way of onboarding, there is a specific. Now once professor is onboarded, how we, on the name of faculty development program, we just do the exchange program.
Right.
So as institutions, we need to put a policy around that my professors should go to industry to learn actual soft floor thing. Then only I can teach someone to operate CNC machines.
Perfect.
Right. Setting up our, state or best of the infrastructure won't help if our, teacher won't go to the industry to teach himself or herself before he started teaching, because it's a skilling era. It's it's not something that you can earn your livelihood on just on the wisdom. You need to work upon the economy is very, very evolving. So the skill gap on the teacher side is absolutely there, and that is why it is reflecting on the student side. That's everybody. That is why these companies are evolving. The training company are evolving. That is the reason, because so on the basic side, industry should start accepting teacher. We have designed a very innovative program for Ladakh. Now Ladakh ITI instructor, we are bringing in industry for their on the job training, and we as a consulting firm are facilitating that to our clients, because ITI standard is, they have best of the best machines through the CSR. We actually motivated some companies to set up to adopt their ITI.
Sorry,
now,
I'll have to cut you short.
yeah,
It's just
so
lacking
now
time.
it is time to think innovatively to resolve these problems.
Perfect. Yeah, anybody from you could take this up? Supply side gap?
So one small, I mean, again, this incident which I come across last week. So we need to pay the teachers more, so
Okay.
that more people from IT industry go to the teaching job. That's a simple thing. So last week I went to a hackathon kind of it. So there, one of the guys said, I'm a mentor in Guvi because Guvi is paying me good. I resigned my current job and I'm full-time mentor. And he is also parallelly doing his happy thing.
Okay.
So this is one example. Like if you are able to pay the teachers good, so you will get a lot of good teachers. So as of now, the pay is less. So who's filtered at the bottom goes to the thing. So that is one small change.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay. I'll just redirect to a very quick policy question. So let's say countries like Qatar or UAE follow a very systematic sort of process, which is they do not know, let's say, how to run their own education systems in India. So what they do is they invite best practices or universities across the globe to set up the shop in their own countries, and they learn from their best practices. Gift City in India just opened the doors for foreign universities to just set up, and it's on a very pilot sort of scale. In case if, let's say, India opens door, with sort of open arms and brings in foreign universities or foreign know-how or academia in India, opportunities, of course, are immense. What challenges that they'll have to sort of face? I mean, we'll have to be very quick.
To answer this question? Yeah, just think for a moment. You think for a university campus in India, and in a campus there is a hostel, and in a hostel, the Indian university I'm talking about, and you have student in the hostel from the worlds. You have student from UK, US, Australia, China, and everyone. Can you imagine that? Yes, we can imagine. Nalanda is the university where the scholars all over the world came here. So we need to, when we talk about adopting best practices, we also need to see, and Nalanda is not only the university, there is Takshila as well. Most of these universities which actually have attracted the best of the scholar of the world are actually talking about or teaching the excellence. Their whole methodology is around practicals. They hardly, even assessment is very practical. Okay. They send student and, ask them, you please identify which leaf is this. So such kind of innovations is very, very required. So we need to adopt best practices, but we also need to see that what are the best practices we have actually living in our ancient days. We also start referring those as well. Yeah.
All right, perfect. So time's up. Sorry, I couldn't take any questions. I think we'll just take them up while we just go. I had a great time. Thank you all, and I hope you had too. Thank you.